Everyone, welcome back to the OnBase Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Moody, and today I'm really excited to have Mark Boothe with us to talk about future-proofing marketing with AI agents. Mark, thanks for joining us today, and welcome to the show.
Hey, Chris. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining. Excited to be here.
Yeah, this is an episode I'm really pumped for. I was thinking about all the stuff we should talk about, and then you and I were just talking before we hit record and almost used our entire recording window. So lots of passion points around future-proofing marketing and making sure we are not left behind. But before we dive into that, we love to start with a little bit about your journey. So understanding what led you to what you're doing today.
Yeah, so I am a creature of marketing from a long time ago. I am a deep lover of customer marketing. I started my career as a junior PR person. And if I'm being honest, I hated it. I didn't like it at all, but it gave me opportunities to jump in and see what our customers were doing. That was back at a place called Omniture many, many years ago. And the individual who was running customer marketing took another job. And I had a great mentor, shout out to Eric Anderson, who decided to take a chance and give me the opportunity to kind of lead customer marketing as a very junior person. And I didn't deserve it for sure, but he took a chance, and that turned into me doing customer marketing for a long time. And we got acquired by Adobe, and I spent a long time doing it there. And then I ended up doing some content marketing at Adobe, running social media for their digital experience business. Spent quite a bit of time, spent well over a decade there at Adobe and Omniture, and then went over to an ed tech company. If you're familiar with Canvas LMS, your kids probably use it. Instructure is the company. I was there for a bit and led digital and led customer marketing and led social, and then came over to Domo 3+ years ago to lead enterprise marketing, and then was made the CMO about 1.5 years ago. Not quite.
Outstanding. I think every parent knows Canvas, to your point. I love it and hate it. There are times where both, right? Like just all the school activities with multiple kids. Yeah. Well, one thing I'm really curious about is, as we get started on this, I was a product marketer too. So I love what you mentioned, customer marketing. Your experience reminded me of being a product manager and a product marketer. So listening to customers. So we will certainly orient around why this matters for our audience. But before we do, AI agents, a lot of folks are throwing out the term. They don't really know what it means. They don't really know what it does. They just know we have to have agents, and they hear agentic. So maybe we could start there with how you define AI agents and how do they work?
Yeah, so AI agents really are their tireless teammates. They can help you do things like automate tasks, adapt dynamically to growing alongside any kind of business that it is that you're building. Those agents will help you tailor to whatever the needs of your business are, which is really cool. Essentially, you've got to understand, number one, and we preach this pretty heavily at Domo, is your data AI ready to be able to do things in the right place? Because AI is simply garbage in, garbage out. If you are good at prompt engineering and you give the LLM or whatever the right information, you can get some really stellar results. If you are not good at that, if your data is trash, you're going to be really ineffective at using any kind of AI at all. Then you get into the idea of, okay, an agent should help you do tasks autonomously. And then you can get into stuff like, are we talking agent to agent? There are so many different permutations of what you can do. But the whole idea is agents should help you automate tasks. For me, very best if it can automate the joyless tasks that you don't really like doing. And there's a lot of those. You see how many CEO notes and messages today that are talking about AI's coming for your job. And I'm not going to say it any differently. Like, if you are not leaning in today, you're behind. And not behind by a little bit. You're going to get left behind completely. And so using agents specifically to help you do superhuman things that you just simply can't do. Think of some of the things that I like about agentic workflows and agents specifically. When you start thinking of, well, an agent, if you train it right with the right information, they never forget. They can pull back in seconds on anything that you've trained them with. Well, I can't do that. I know that my entire SDR, BDR, ADM team, they can't do that. And they are amazing. They are incredible at doing business development. But I can't say, here are 500 slides and 15 terabytes of data. Go review all of it and don't forget it. Remember it and serve up that information at the right time. That's what agents can do in any way, shape, or form, whether it's healthcare, retail, financial services, media, high tech, and on and on and on. That's what agents do. They can take difficult workflows, lots of times joyless workflows, and do it in a way better way than any kind of human could do it.
Awesome. I think you nailed some of the social clips we'll pull for this in the first question. It's a great job. I love the concept of tireless teammates. That has a nice ring to it as well. I can see it on a t-shirt. And to your point about the right time for the CMOs who are listening that are used to doing things a certain way, or they think their team is going to have them covered on AI. Why is now the right time for a CMO to pay attention and start to adopt AI agents in their strategy?
Because you're already late. You're already late. We had a really interesting session just earlier this week, Chris. We called it the Agentic AI Innovation Summit that we hosted. We had 6,000 plus registrants for this thing and just amazing speakers. The head of AI go-to-market for Google, multiple people from AWS, a person who's built an agent on the Domo platform from Torchy's Tacos, a VP of software development at Opus who's doing some really cool things with Domo and Agentic. You're late and you're going to completely miss the boat if you don't get going. Don't be afraid. Now, be secure and be governed, because how many examples are there now of companies who have not taken security or governance in the right way, and it's come back to bite them. So make sure that you are buttoned up in those ways, but there's a lot of ways to do that today. But do it. It will make your life exponentially easier. There was a piece of content that I was working on just the other day, and the ability for me to use a secure version of, think ChatGPT to be able to draft and ideate and start creating in minutes what would have taken a significant amount of time in the past. And the output was incredible. Now, again, you got to make sure that you have the right data. You got to make sure that you are feeding it the right stuff, that you're training it in the right way, because that is a perfect recipe for disaster if you're not prepared and you're not ready. AI readiness from a data company is so important. If you haven't given context to the data and you start asking questions, you get into a place today where from an analytics, from an AI, BI perspective, yeah, you can ask your data questions and it can serve up the right stuff. But if your data is not ready for that, you're going to get some really crappy answers that may not help you run your business.
Yeah. Great stuff. Before we jump to the next question, coming out of that event where you look 6,000 plus registrants, for those who don't run webinars or virtual events, that's really, really good. That's a huge number. To have that many folks attend, what were a few of the key takeaways where, if you were trapped in an elevator with someone and they were saying, what did you learn from that event? What stood out to you from all the sessions you heard?
Is an excellent question. So let me dig into a couple of things that I heard from Jim Fairweather specifically. He's the head of AI go-to-market. These were a couple of the takeaways that I noted down. One was, if you're not already working on agents, you're late. This is, again, from the head of AI go-to-market. This is one of the notes that I have. Another is, don't build for what AI is doing right now, build for where it's going, which is fully autonomous agents that plan, that adapt, that collaborate with people. You think of stuff like, okay, you've got groups like Google and others that are releasing agent development kits, frameworks that could help you build, manage, orchestrate agent logic, memory tools. And at Domo, we launched at our big user conference, Domopalooza, here a few months ago, something that we called Agent Catalyst, which is essentially a way to go and build these agents. We have customers who are building agents. Just yesterday, actually, sorry, I'm pulling my phone up, we shared some information on our earnings call that was kind of intriguing. And it was about one of our customers who, sorry, I'm scrolling to try and find where that message was. It was about one of our customers who joined, think of it as a webinar, an AI-like webinar where they were teaching how to build. And within 37 minutes, that customer already had something that could do some really cool agentic like things. Like, this is not okay, now I got to wait, and in 6 months I might have something. No, go build, start playing, figure out what. My head of product marketing came into me today and he showed me this graphic. Well, it wasn't even a graphic. It was a piece of content that he had created that essentially shows people how they can make sure that they are building AI agents in the right place. So it was an agent planning worksheet is what he called it. So, at the very top, if you just start digging into the tech, whatever the tech is you're going to use, and I'm just going to start building an agent, you're not going to get anywhere if you haven't made sure that you understand what are the goals and the purpose of that agent. Why am I building this thing? Then, okay, from a knowledge perspective, how am I structuring this, whether it's structured data or unstructured data? And then the tools, what are the actions that these external systems and other agents need to take? There are frameworks already built out. There are things that can be done. But go jump in. Do not be shy and do not wait anymore because you're late. This was the stat I think I may have mentioned to you, Chris. Gartner says 80% of companies are increasing AI investment, but only 9% are seeing measurable value. That gap is real. So there's a lot of people experimenting. And now you could say, well, maybe that means I ought to just wait a little bit longer. Don't. Everyone is at different stages. Some teams are crawling, some teams are jogging, some are falling flat on their face, but the sprint is coming. And one of the greatest things that I took away from that session from Jim yesterday was the riskiest thing you can do right now, wait and see. I'll say it one more time. The riskiest thing you can do right now, wait and see. Like when you think right now about what should I be doing around AI, go, plan, and then just start delivering. You think from a CMO's perspective, we spend a significant amount of money on paid search. Okay, well, the entire organic and paid search landscape is changing a lot. You had AI overviews that went into place May of last year. And any CMO who tells you, well, we're not seeing any kind of impact, I would say they're lying because it's just the way that buyer behavior and search experiences are changing. You do it, Chris. I do it. I pull up Google today and I search, and what do I do most of the time? I read that very top AI overview. I get all the information I need, and there is no reason for me to click on a paid and organic link. None. Yep. So for a CMO who's spending significant amounts of money on things like paid search or making sure the web experience is good or making sure you're optimizing for SEO or GEO, as they're calling things now, like you do not have the luxury of waiting anymore. And if you wait even a few months, you'll look back and say, we're in a hole that's so big I can't get out of it.
Yeah, so much to react to there. We should have scheduled about 4 hours for this one, I'm realizing. I know for a fact the agency that helped us with our rebrand, their number one source of traffic is already the AI summaries that are popping up on things. They shared that on LinkedIn. And then as soon as you said earnings call, and you said, "Oh, I'm going to pull out my phone for a second to look at something," I said, "Oh, this is an opportunity for me to run to Chat GPT or Gemini and just say, 'Hey, I'm on with the CMO of Domo. Tell me a couple takeaways from their earnings call this week.'" And it just popped up and said, "Strengthen strategic partnerships and consumption-based model," and goes through all the new partner agreements, improve customer retention metrics, goes through gross retention and everything. And that was what? 10 seconds.
The speed and the scale at which you can get information, but then more importantly, leverage that information to take action in whatever form that makes sense is like nothing we've ever experienced.
Yeah,
but
totally.
Remember that thing that I told you about the individual from Google, the biggest thing you could do to hurt yourself right now is to wait and see.
Yeah, I love that. And, let's talk about adaptability. So traditional automation methods have been a bit rigid. We go through, we build out our workflow, our canvas, our journey, whatever it may be. We go through and we try to set every step up along the way. How do agentic workflows improve adaptability as things change to better adjust to whatever might happen in our go-to-market strategy?
Yeah, I mean, when I think of just the scale and the ability for them to consume information and stay ahead of the curve, I mean, you can build a lot of agents with this Agent Catalyst with Domo right now, but we're also using technology outside of Domo. But agents are paramount to your success and not just a marketer. I would say as a designer, as a finance professional, as a product manager, as an engineer, as an on and 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 on. They can help you adapt to whatever it is that's happening in the market. Like the ability for them to understand things and comprehend things and think about things way further in advance. We were talking earlier about that application that you talked about, that you essentially said, go build me a website, go build me a marketing campaign. And it just does it. It just does it. You don't even have to think through that. Now, we can get into the whole conversation about, AI is coming for my job. No, that's silly. You know what AI is coming for? Those people who are not willing and ready and jumping in to use AI to get better at their jobs. Absolutely hard stop. If you are not jumping in, AI will take your job. I realize that's probably a harder take than people like, but just go look at what's happening. And those AI agents have the ability to be able to, whether it's competitive intelligence and staying up on what every single one of your competitors are doing, or whether it's looking at, what's happening from a paid search perspective, whether it's looking at the content creation process that can happen via AI or an agent. The list could be endless. That's what agents can help you do. And if you're not already jumping in to be able to do them, you're behind and you need to.
Totally. How do you ensure that AI-driven decisions remain aligned with enterprise priorities? Look, we've been around the block in marketing. I think we can all be honest, and every listener would probably agree that historically, there are plenty of times where the marketing function itself runs in a lot of different directions, sometimes not always tied to the business objective. So how do we make sure with AI that we are connecting to the most important priorities?
Yeah, I think it comes from the top down. So making sure that you as a leader are sharing and reiterating over and over and over and over again, what are those key things that matter the very most to you? For us, we are extra focused right now on our ecosystem partners. We're seeing some really good increases from a top of funnel perspective in leads that are coming in from ecosystem partners. AI is another really big priority for us. And so we've done a lot of investing there. We've got a lot of customers that are doing a lot of cool things, but reiterating over and over again our customers and helping them adopt and use the tool and get value, most importantly. That is of the utmost importance. But you have to make sure, whether you're a marketing leader or anywhere else, that you are reiterating those company priorities, that everybody could say them 6 ways to Sunday and backwards, that these are the priorities. So do my projects, you think back to the days where we were so focused on vanity metrics, Chris. And it wasn't that long ago. Where it was like, yes, we got this many likes on a tweet. And you're like, oh, great. And it may have not been attuned to any of those big priorities. Most of the time, that's where we had our conversation earlier about attribution models, and I have a love-hate relationship. Somehow I got attribution into this conversation, Chris, because any marketer that tells me my tweet led to $1 million deal, I want to say, you are up in the night. You're up in the night. Now, could it be a touch in that deal? For sure it could. For us, I may see hundreds, if not thousands, of sales and marketing interactions. And I can look at every single interaction that would happen if we closed a deal with someone. So if that is the case, which we can today, how can an agent not make you way smarter and way faster and way more adaptable? Well, you have to make sure that it is aligned with the key priorities of the company, because if you do that, then the key things that you do in marketing will all align back to it. But you have to, as a leader, make sure that you are harping on continually, this is what we care about. Are your initiatives related to those? Because if not, we got to adjust or figure out how they become related.
Awesome. Just great stuff there. And this next question, I think you may be the most prepared to answer of anyone based on the business at Domo. How can AI agents transform complex data into actionable insights at scale? And, this could be hypothetical examples or real world examples.
Interesting. It's an interesting question. We have a lot of customers that are using us to build or create AI agents already. But really, you have to go back to the basics of making sure that you understand, what are you trying to accomplish? Like, don't overcomplicate it. We're talking about AI agents, and it's easy for people to say, oh, well, I'm just going to go build one. Yes, start in the right way. What's your objective? What's your goal? Make sure that you understand it. Does it align to these big priorities that you have as a company? Because if it doesn't, what are you doing? I know I have to drive. Chris, you know this, you've lived it. Biggest issue that I see marketers likely face in the marketing seat is, we drove amazing top of funnel, record numbers of top of funnel. No one cares. Unless you can track it back to, are we driving pipeline, and more importantly, ACV and LTV? The longer you can get a customer to sign and adopt and get value, the better the relationship is for you and that customer. But as marketers, so often we get stuck in, well, we brought the lead in, we got the inquiry, we got the MQL. The sale got passed over. What are you doing? It's sales fault. As a marketer, your job is not to drive top of funnel leads. As a marketer, I get paid really well if our stock does really well. And if all I'm doing is driving top of funnel, that doesn't do any good for the business. Record top of funnel does not mean anything. So making sure that you are tied back to those key company initiatives and goals that matter and will actually move the needle. And so when you look at agents that can help you do things like that, make sure that you have a key priority and make sure that you are ready. That doesn't mean wait, but go get ready today if you need to. Make sure that you are ready to do the things agentically that you may need to do. Is your data in a good place to be able to make those decisions? Do you have the people and the tools and the framework and the infrastructure to make sure that you can effectively use AI to be able to change and make a difference? Because if we're just getting back to the same days of, wow, we drove record numbers of top of funnel, or wow, we drove a whole bunch of other likes and shares and vanity metrics that your board is not going to care about. What your board's going to care about is the company growing the way that it should? Are you building pipeline? Are you nurturing that pipeline? Are you helping the sales team all the way through so that they can get it closed? And then are you making sure that the onboarding experience is absolutely fantastic so that customer never has any reason to want to go anywhere else? That's the power of what AI agents could and should be able to do. But it starts with the basics of, am I prepared? Are my people prepared? Is my data ready to be able to go and build those things? You think of the idea of crawl, walk, run. That's the place to start crawling is my data? Are my people? Is my infrastructure? Am I ready to be able to get the value out of agents that I really can and should be getting?
Yeah, that's great. And let's pick on the data piece. So, is my data ready? For organizations that haven't quite solved how to make all their data AI ready and putting it all in one place, the potential for garbage in, garbage out, as you said, what are the challenges that they're going to face in getting their data AI ready, and how can those be addressed?
Yeah, I mean, so a lot of it, we have at Domo, we have an entire AI readiness guide. Go Google AI chat, do whatever you will to find that. But
yeah, we'll link it to this episode for sure.
Go check it out because it will give you kind of that idea of what is it that I need to do to make sure that I am really ready to be successful. So we'll share a few things there. But one, you got to think about, how do I actually prepare that data? So that may be things like, how do I clean and organize it? How do I make sure the data is accurate? How do I make sure that it's orderly? You may have to deep clean it. There may be some stuff you have to purge that you got to get rid of. Then you've got to start thinking about, how do I create deeper data relevance? How do I make sure that I'm updating and documenting that process, and that governance is a big part of this? Data governance that was another thing that came out in the AI innovation session yesterday, was that AI governance is cool, which who's heard that said maybe ever. We're at a time now where you have to have clean, governed processes and data, because if not, AI can get out of hand really, really quickly. So having a really solid governance strategy in place can make all the difference. So make sure your data is ready. Make sure you're giving it context where it makes sense. Make sure that you get everything in a place where you can ask your data any question and it can give you answers to whatever question you ask. I mean, we are literally living in a world where you could ask, how is my paid search driving pipeline these days? What about for the past 6 months, the past 12 months or whatever? Like, that's all very easy to do stuff. As long as your data is in a good place, you can get any answers that you need as a CMO. I don't know how I ever would have done my job without something like Domo, because I have the ability today to get any information that I need to know. How are things producing in Japan versus APAC versus North America, whether it's paid search or it's events or whatever else? How are we getting attribution to the right things? And you can ask questions to that data as long as it is prepared and ready. So get ready. It's getting late. Get ready and start using it.
Well, this may be a question you could ask too, but I'm curious, as a CMO, how do you evaluate the ROI of AI-powered initiatives? Because clearly there are some that we have to do, and there are some notions of brand building where vanity metrics could be indicators that we're trending in the right direction, but it's still not attaching to pipeline and revenue. So most are going to say yes, and like, we have to do it. But I'm curious if you're putting any ROI lens on AI initiatives right now.
Yeah, it's a tough one, Chris, for sure. I mean, we are doing a lot of things with AI, whether it's AI chat on a website, whether it's having an AI agent make dials to people to invite them to things, whether it's content creation, whether it's image generation, whether it's, competitive intelligence, the list goes on and on and on and on. And some of them are probably easier. I guess it's easier to be able to say, if we had an agent that went and made a whole bunch of dials for us, you can compare that to, well, how did they do compared to what some of our, pre-sales, ADMs or SDRs might have been able to do? What's the cost that those ADMs or SDRs would cost us to be able to do something versus what that agent would cost us? So it all depends on what the function is that you are trying to achieve. What's the end goal? If it's content creation, well, guess what? You're going to be able to create content exponentially faster. Now, is it to the quality that you need? I am a big champion and fan, and have been of a long time, of content is only as good as the distribution strategy behind it. Kill the messenger, anybody who wants to, but you could give me the very worst piece of content, very worst, and I can make it seen with enough money and enough strategy and enough of the right people helping us on the back end. But you give me an incredible piece of content with the right strategy in place, it could go bananas. So if it's content stuff, make sure you're looking at the metrics that really do matter. Because if you're just saying, well, wow, I could create blog posts 20x faster in every language I want to, but is it good? And again, who cares? Unless you have a killer strategy in place to be able to push it out to the people, the key audience that you need to push it to, it's not going to do any good. So make sure that you're looking at the individual activities that you're trying to do, no matter what it is, whether it's social, whether it's content, whether it's dialing, whether it's whatever. And then you've got to figure out, what is the ROI, or how do I measure the effectiveness of that specific effort? And it's not going to be easy, and it's not going to be clear a lot of the times. However, I don't think it means you shouldn't do it currently. You should at least trial and test and see what you can get out of it.
Absolutely. Mark, you triggered me a little bit there. I'm not going to lie. The distribution comment, I have left a job before because we built the best content I've ever been a part of. We had the whole kit. We had everything for social. We had the videos, and then it didn't get hooked into the distribution engine. And it led to a conversation of, you're paying me too much to not let me do my job respectfully. It was a great 2-hour chat, and turned out to be one of the drivers to one of my favorite roles I've ever had in my career. But yeah, when you said that, I really felt seen and heard, because it's so true. It's so true. So we have to get both of those right. We're entering the final few minutes we have together. So we're going to shift to the lightning round. These can be quick hitters. The first, you can only pick one. What is the single biggest challenge in marketing today?
AI.
Cool. I think you've covered that. Yeah. So I like the lightning round answer. That was Family Feud style there. Like, bang.
Chris, I know I talk too much. I apologize. But it's not only the biggest challenge, it's also the biggest opportunity by a mile. But it's changing so fast at every day, it feels like a new piece of research or something comes out. So yes, it's the biggest challenge, but that's not a reason not to do it. It is such a huge opportunity, and you will get left behind if you're not already in and doing it.
Yeah, I love that. And, very quick aside, which you can agree or disagree on this, but one thing that I would stress here too, this is coming out of strengths training. We had our marketing leadership offsite and our executive offsite recently in the past month. And I think many in marketing, we're used to lots of attempts and failure and tend to obsess a little bit on our weaknesses. So I know for me personally, AI initially was in 2 buckets. It was, where can I be infinitely creative and try to learn new things? And then some of the things I don't want to do. How can I get AI to do those things? The strength and opportunity, you going from challenge to opportunity, flagged that for me to say, I would encourage everyone listening to also think about how AI can supplement strengths, because there's certainly the time save, the things that we can do, but also if we are uniquely good at certain things, T-shaped marketer, I always say Roman numeral 4, right? Like we go deeper in more areas. But if we think about that, how can we use all these tools to make us even stronger and more differentiated? I don't know if you would fight me on that one, but you going from challenge to opportunity really resonated with me, because it was timely for something I've been thinking about personally, because I will beat myself up over weaknesses, and that detracts. It takes time away from me pushing forward on strengths where I'm different.
Yeah, I think it's an intriguing question, Chris. Our CEO talked, his whole keynote at our big user conference, Domo this year, was heavily focused, of course, on AI, and it went into a lot of things. It's intriguing. That's another one we ought to link to, but it went into a lot of the things that AI is really, really, really good at, like expert, and also the things that humans are really good at. And there's a lot of things, everyone, newsflash, that humans are really good at, really good at. And so the ability for AI and agents specifically to be able to take whatever those Chris or Mark's strengths are and amplify them or multiply them significantly is huge. It's not just about, hey, I can go create content way faster. Yeah, you could do that. Sure. That's table stakes at this point. But what are the things you are uniquely good at that AI could help you be even better? That's the key. I wouldn't fight you on that at all. I would say 100%, but too often with AI, we don't look at that. You look at, oh, well, it could create my content way faster. It could blah, 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 blah. Yeah. It's like, yeah, but what about what I'm really good at? Can it make me better at that? I guess it can.
Yeah, that feels like the trap. So I love that. Okay, I broke the rules. I said lightning round, and then I took us down a different path. So we're going to hit lightning round. Couple quick ones here. Favorite tools or technology? What stands out to you today?
From a marketing perspective, that was an interesting answer, Chris.
Yeah, you can take it anywhere you want.
I am a big fan of Jasper. We're doing some cool things there. I am a big fan of Domo, if that's not cheating. It's just, it is making my job as a marketer so much easier to know where I'm going and where I've been and where I am going or should be going in the future. And so those are a couple that are clear up at the top of the list. Tools, not so much. Platforms, I am a monster LinkedIn fan. I could not be a bigger fan of a social network. It's not even close.
Awesome. What about good reads? And we could take that anywhere: book, blog, newsletter, podcast, video.
So I'm a little bit old school. I would say that the Business Bible, maybe the very best business book in the history of the world, is How to Win Friends and Influence People. And you can read that, you can listen to it and be like, there's not really anything revolutionary in here. And you're like, well, yeah, there's not. But it's the simple basics of people, and people matter, and taking care of people, and staying out of bad conflict. Conflict sometimes we run away from, but good conflict is really necessary for us to get to where we need to be going. So without question, that's my number one. I'm a big Patrick Lencioni fan. Right now I'm in Brene Brown's Dare to Lead. That's actually the book. We have a book club in our marketing and ADM organization. And right now we're just getting started. We have our next book club meeting tomorrow, first read of Dare to Lead. So those are a couple of interesting ones.
Awesome. And who inspires you in B2B?
So one of the companies that I'm obviously just a monster fan of is Snowflake and Databricks, honestly, and Google and Oracle. Like a lot of these partners that we work with quite a bit. I think that all of them on different levels have figured out how to tell a really interesting story on sometimes what could be seen as a boring product. Denise, the CMO over at Snowflake, I think that they've done some absolutely masterful things from a marketing perspective. And you look at their earnings, like it's like, holy cow, you're growing how much on what size of a business? But Denise and team have done some incredible things in the B2B marketing space.
Great answer there. And then the most important question of all, Mark, how can everyone get in touch with you after the podcast? And we know you're going to say LinkedIn.
It is absolutely positively carrier pigeon, but after carrier pigeon, it will be LinkedIn. Mark.Boothe1, Boothe with an E. Find me.
All right. Well, thank you so much. You crushed it. This is a great episode. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Chris.